So now the recording has started, and you're all very welcome. So yes, so here we are this morning for the revision at the finale of the course for all of you. So you've all been through this process before, and this now is the final hurdle to get over in order to get your diploma in credit management. So that's that. So what we're going to do, I'm doing a brief introduction this morning. I'm not sure if you noticed the in terms of the timings on the email I sent you. So I have my introduction to be 15 minutes, and then I have Paul starting at 10:30. So what we're going to do, guys, is just to let you know from the outset, I'm going to keep it to about 15 minutes ish, and then Paul's going to start straight into credit management then at that stage. So that means in terms of the published um, timetable, we'll be about 15 minutes ahead. So on that basis, we'll take a break at 11, and then we'll come back at 11:15 and wrap it up by about 11 or about 12:15 as well. So that's kind of what we're aiming for. And look, as far as I am concerned, I'm not rushing away. So if you want to stay back and ask any questions, please do. And obviously we're here all the time for you, and you know that. So that is that. So really what we're going to do today, I'll give you the overview, and then Paul is going to go through the credit management, and I'm going to go through the risk module with you as well. So I'm staying with you for the risk today. Um, and what we'll do is we'll go through, we give you a summary of the course. We will focus in on the exam itself. So we will give you pointers in terms of the areas to concentrate on for the exam. And for me, on the risk side, I'm going to be focusing on the mock paper. So you should have all received the mock paper and had a go at doing it. And I'll just go through the solutions with you. And hopefully by seeing the workings, that should make it clear. So that is that. Um, in terms of removing all the surprises, and as I said, all of you have been through the exam process before. Normally in these sessions, we have half the students who are doing the exams for the first time and half who are doing them the second time. So this is kind of a unique group that you're all returning. So that's why it's a shorter session from an introduction perspective. So you know how it works. So how it works very simply is that at 10 to 10 next Saturday morning, I will send each of you an email that will have the risk paper attached. So you will get that at 10 to 10. So that's 10 minutes just to read over it before you start. And what I would ask you to do is please acknowledge receipt. So you say, yes, I got it, or thanks, or whatever words you want to use. So when you get the email from me at 10 to 10, please acknowledge that you got it. Because I'm just sitting here firing out emails. So I just want to make sure that everybody has it. So please acknowledge that you got it, and then you get to work. So you've 10 minutes to read over the paper and decide what questions you're going to do. And hopefully by the end of today, you'll be fairly clear in terms of what those questions are going to be. So that is that. And in risk, what will happen is you get the full paper at 10 to 10. You have 2 hours then to complete the paper and email it back to me before 12 o'clock. So that is phase one. Phase two is you take a break, and then at 10 to 1, I will send you the multiple choice questions for credit management. So again, you're familiar with those because you did them in the past with on the collections course. So you will have 50 multiple choice questions on credit management. You will have 1 hour to complete those questions. So you get your 50 multiple choice questions, and you fly through them and answer, and what I would advise you to do on the multiple choice questions is just fly through them and answer all the ones that you know are right, and then go back and check the ones that you're not sure about. So that is the way. Now, what I'll say to you is, look, we know you're sitting at home. We know you have your laptop in front of you. We know you have the notes in front of you as well. So that is that. if you're going to rely on the notes, particularly for the multiple choice questions, you will stress yourselves out because there is 50 questions, there is 60 minutes, there is no way you're going to find the relevant place in the notes and then the questions. So, do as much as you can from your memory. Now, look, if you have time at the end, of course, checking notes is open to you. I just avoid it just for your own benefit rather than anything else. And then as soon as you have finished the 50 multiple choice questions, then send them in. My advice on the multiple choice questions is have a stab, even if you don't know. There's no negative marking, so you're not going to be deducted marks if you get something wrong. So, look, something is better than a blank space. There's a 4-to-1 chance you'll get a mark. And, the whole exam process is about maximizing the number of marks you get. Now, your bonus for getting the short tests back or the multiple choice tests back as quickly as possible is that I will be sitting at the desk next Saturday. And as soon as I receive your multiple choice answers, I will reply to your email and I will attach the long questions to the email I send you. So I will send you an individual email with the long questions. So obviously, if you can get the multiple choice questions in 15 minutes early, that gives you an extra 15 minutes to work on the long questions. So that's just a matter for yourselves. So that is that. And then when you're finished the multiple choice, send them in. I'll send you the long questions. And no matter what time you get the long questions at, they are due back on or before 3 o'clock next Saturday afternoon. And then you're done. What we will do at that stage is, I think we're giving ourselves a 2 week turnaround time. Isn't that right, Paul, in terms of the exams? So what I am saying is that the exam is finished on the 24th. So what I am aiming is getting the results out to you guys on the 6th of February. So that's Friday week. Okay. So we're not going to leave you waiting far too long. So you will have the results on the 6th. And when I'm sending out the results, I will also send you out details of the graduation ceremony. So all the students that we have graduating, and there will be quite a few, there's, more groups than this. So there'll be, you know, there's two or three other groups who will be joining us for the graduation. And that takes place on the 25th of March. And I'd send you out all the details. It's a really nice day. We get together. You're formally presented with your diplomas. We'll have a professional photographer there to take pictures and caps and gowns if you want and all that kind of good stuff. So it is a nice evening and maybe a glass of wine and some finger food as well. So just to mark the occasion. So that is something to look forward to. Now, the only thing I will say to you on both credit management and risk, the secret is time management. Okay. And particularly on the risk topic. So it's easy with the multiple choice questions. You get your 50 questions, you fly through them, you go back over them, you highlight the one that you want, and then when you're finished, you submit it. When you get your long questions, there are two long questions to complete, isn't it, Paul? Two long questions. So you'll be given four questions and you'll only have to answer two. So straight away, that kind of eliminates half the course. So if there's an area of the course that you don't like, forget it. It doesn't matter because the worst that can happen is if you ignore an area, it means that your choice you have to answer two questions out of three rather than two questions out of four. So it just limits your choice. So if there is an area you don't like, and then be rigid. So if you get the paper at 2 o'clock, you have to submit it at 3 o'clock. So that is 30 minutes for each question. And what I would advise you to do is if you get the paper at 2 o'clock, at 2:30, stop. Just stop, even if it's mid-sentence, stop. Your half hour is up. Go on and do the second question. And then if you have time at the end, go back and finish it. Okay? If you spend the whole hour on one question, you are only going to get half the marks no matter how well you've done. Okay, so just remember that. And the whole purpose of an exam is to get as many marks as you can. So that is important in credit management. It's vital for risk. So in risk, because you're getting the whole paper today and you've seen the mock paper, so you know how it works. The real paper is in structure is going to be exactly the same. Obviously, the questions and the numbers will change. The structure of it is exactly the same. So in that regard, you have to answer question one and you have to answer question two, and then you have to answer two of the remaining six questions. So there'll be eight questions on the paper. You have to answer question one and question two, and then two of the remaining six. So in that regard, look at the marks and you'll see them on the mock paper there as well. So you get 50 marks for question one, 50 marks for question two, and then 20 marks for the other two questions. So on that basis, mapping your time to the marks. So give 40 minutes to do question one, 40 minutes to do question two, and then 20 minutes each for the other two questions. Is that okay? And set an alarm clock because, you know, and stop because I have seen people, doing exams. We used to have to go to an exam hall to do the exams back in the old days, and like I saw people spending the 2 hours trying to get the balance sheet to balance. And and even if they got it to balance and got it perfectly, they still can only get 50 marks out of 140, which is barely enough to pass. So once you get to your 40 minutes, you've got most of the marks. Forget if you don't have all, because I know there's a perfectionist inside you trying to get out. So no, forget it. Just stop, move on to the next question, get as many marks as you can. Stop, move on to the next question and get as many marks as you can. Is that okay? So 40, 40, 20, 20 is your rule for the risk paper. Um, the other thing that some people ask us as well, and this is true for both credit management and for risk, if you have time over, you are allowed to do an extra question. So in credit management, if you now look, two good answers is better than three bad answers. So, just be aware of that. But look, if you've done the two questions and you're happy with what you've done and you have 20 minutes left over, no harm having a stab at a third question. And the same with risk. You've answered the two short questions and you have, you know, 15 minutes left over. Have a stab at another one. Yeah? Because what we will do is we will mark all the questions that you submit and we give you the best. Is that okay? So if you answer three questions, we will mark the three, and whatever the two highest marks are, that's what we'll include for your result. So just in case you have a disaster, on one question, it's just something that you can do. Okay, and again, from the risk perspective, the one I would recommend is question eight, which is the multiple choice question. I would not recommend that as one of your two because it's very tricky. Even I would find that tricky enough. But sure, look, if you have 5 minutes left, you have a 4-1 chance of getting it right, and you might pick up a few marks that are vital for you. And just remember this as well, that all you have to get is 40% overall. So that's all you need. So if you're worried about getting through this course, all you need is 40%. And and then you say, well, how come the paper adds up to 140? Well, it adds up to 140 because that makes life easier for us. And that 140 marks for your exam equates to 70% of the overall exam. So there's 70% for the exam, there's 20% for your assignments, and there's 10% for your short tests. So you probably have, good marks in your assignments, good marks in your short tests. They will be added. So that's the first 30. And then all you need is I'm trying to think of the number now. I think it's I think is it 50 out of 140 or something in order to get a pass. So, it is very doable. And part of what we're going to cover today is how doable it is. The other bit of advice I would give you is when you're working from home as well. So on the credit management, you'll probably be working on Word because you're typing words. On the risk paper, you're probably working on Excel because the paper will be given to you in Excel format. There's no sort of way. You can use the exam paper and put your answers on the page beside the questions, or if you want to create another spreadsheet. So whatever way you want to do it, I imagine using the spreadsheet you're given is probably easier than having the numbers beside you. But look, whatever you find, that's the way to do it. And the other advice is save your work regularly because it's when you're opening a file from an email that's not saved on your system. And the last thing you want is, a power cut wherever you are, and then panic stations and stress, and and we've all encountered that. So just make sure that when you get the exam paper from me, save it down onto your laptop, and then sort of auto save it every few minutes just to save yourself grief. Um, and then when you're finished, send in the paper for marking, and that's it. It's done. All right. So you know, and in terms of post-morteming and going back over it and torturing yourself, there is no need to do that. You've done whatever you've done. You've done the best you could. That is that. Is that okay? And just to put your minds at rest as well, obviously failure is not an option because it's not something that's why we're here today to make sure that this doesn't happen. Uh, I know people tend to catastrophize and say, well, what if? What if it is a thing that the worst comes to the worst, we will make arrangements for you. So look, if we have to set a repeat exam for you and give you one-on-one tuition, we are prepared to do that. Is that okay? So I just want you to relax and know that, whatever happens, we will work with you to get you over the line. Now, we're not going to give it to you because, you have to earn it. We will point you in the right direction and show you how to do it. Is that okay? So that is the introduction that I am giving, and I've gone 3 minutes over. So what I will do is I will stop recording now. Um, Sorry, what's stop recording?